Welcome to this session on some of the cool new PowerPoint functions in Microsoft 365. PowerPoint in Microsoft 365 is a bit of a superhero really, with amazing functionality that will dash to your rescue to save you from terrible presentations. My name is Richard Goring and I work for a presentation design agency called BrightCarbon. I've not got long to show you what's possible, so let's get into it. Let's take a look at iconography and indeed other graphics. Icons are great for communicating clearly, emotionally and professionally. Anyway, you can use them for all sorts of reasons to bring your slides to life. And there are loads available from directly within PowerPoint. So how does it work? Well, head on over to the Insert tab on the ribbon, and in the Illustrations group here in the middle, you'll find icons, the little duck and leaf motif. Click on that and you'll get this lovely window of all sorts of different icons that are available to you. Now the list is quite extensive, so you could either scroll through to browse, or you can go back to the top and find a variety of different categories here. Things like education and analytics and business and technology, lots of things that are available to you. Or you can use the search bar at the top to search for something specific, like a rocket, and now that will come up with the appropriate icons. Choose the one you want, click Insert, and now you have a lovely icon graphic that you can use. Now the really wonderful thing about these icons is that they are vector graphics, so they're not actually a picture. And the impact of that is that, one, if you were to try to change the size of it, so make it enormous, you don't get that horrible pixelation that you might do otherwise. It's still nice and crisp and smooth. Also, you can alter the effects of these, you can format them. So you can go to the new Graphics Formats tab on the ribbon, and here you have a whole load of tools available to you to change the look and feel and the style of it. So for example, I can choose Graphics Fill, and here you've got the traditional colour theme options and standard colours where you can recolor things. Choose a nicer on-brand colour, and now you've got something that's nice and neat and fits into the rest of your presentation. And so graphics and icons are a great way to bring your content to life and help people to understand your story. But you can go further than that. It's not just about icons. Oh no, there's images, people, and indeed illustrations now available in PowerPoint. Again, the same place, or you can go to the Insert tab and then Pictures over here on the left. Click on that little drop down for pictures and then choose Stock Images, and you get the same kind of menu format where you have a thumbnail gallery of lots of different beautiful, high quality images that you can use freely across the Office suite. So not just in PowerPoint, but Word and Outlook and Excel. And you've also got different categories at the top, or as before, you have the ability to type in a particular search and then relevant images will appear. So now that you've got that, you can bring those in rather wonderfully and nicely so that you can tell your story with it. What's more though, if you go back to that Inserts tab and Stock Images or Icons, you'll see that there are other tabs at the top. So images and icons we've addressed, but also cut out people. And here you have a whole load of photos of people all cut out on transparent backgrounds so that you can put them on anything else, but also you've got them grouped as different people. So now you can choose Ursula, for example, and you'll see all of the pictures of her in different poses doing different things. And so you can select multiple images of her and then insert all of them, for example, to be able to create dynamic scenes or conversations or changes. And there's also illustrations, which are a lovely way to bring a certain elegance to your presentation. So again, lots of different illustrations that you can choose to use from here. Select any of them, choose Insert, and you'll see that although there's some color pops in it, exactly as with the icons, you can choose the Graphics Format tab, Graphics Fill, and then all of these colors can be used to then change the style of that graphic so that it now fits in more closely with your brand. So it's well worth checking these different things out. All of the different graphics and illustrations and iconography that you can use to create not only beautiful slides, but also slides that are very helpful to convey complex ideas, particularly when used in conjunction with other content, to bring your stories to life and make your presentations more effective. Morph is a terrific new transition available in PowerPoint that enables you to do some amazing things. Let me show you how it works. To start, I'm going to draw a shape on this slide here, just a standard rectangle, and then using the thumbnails on the left, duplicate that slide using Ctrl and D. On the second slide, take that box and move it over to the right hand side. So far, so basic. But if you then go to the Transitions tab on the ribbon and over on the left hand side choose this Morph transition, what PowerPoint does is recognise that this box is the same on both slides, so that in slideshow mode it will now seamlessly morph from one slide to the next. And you think, oh, that's quite clever, but what happens if I push it a bit further? So on this second slide, as well as just moving the box, maybe you're going to change the size of it and also perhaps change the colour. And then in slideshow mode, PowerPoint goes, oh, okay, it's the same box, but in a different place and a different size and a different colour. I can handle that. And you think, oh, I like that. But how is it useful? Well, let's imagine you have a slide like this, for instance, which is a new starter onboarding process. This is a wonderful infographic. It's a great PDF. It's a lovely printout, but it's a terrible slide because people can't see any of the detail. They're overwhelmed by it. And so instead, you can bring up the entire thing and then use the morph transition to say, here's our overall process, but now I want to take you through the strategy and planning. Then we'll move across to the launch event, down to the training and alignment, and so on and so forth, moving around all the various elements of the diagram, explaining the detail, bringing in content as appropriate, and then finally at the end, you can pull back and say, and so this is the overall process, and I'll share that with you as a summary later on. This is all just done using Morph. And if I show you how that works, here you have on this slide the entire diagram filling the slide. But if I were to zoom out a bit to show you what's happening here, there you've got the entire diagram just on the working area of the slide. But on the next slide, you see it's exactly the same diagram, but now just much larger, with only a small portion of it on the visible working area there. And the morph transition will say, okay, it's the same diagram, just larger and moved, and it will do all of that animation for you automatically. Likewise, the next slide, click here, and you'll see that everything is now shifted over with the launch event now the only thing visible on the working area of the slide. So with Morph, you have tremendous capability to bring your content to life. Morph allows you to create some really interesting effects. So here, for example, a complex image with a zoom lens to be able to focus in on particular areas that need more detail. Let me show you how it works. I'm going to go to a blank slide with a picture placeholder on, add in the image, so in this case the beach scene, and now you need to copy that and paste it so you have two versions of the image and line them up on top of each other. Then you need to focus on a particular area, say the pool up here on the top left. So to do that, go to the Picture Format tab on the ribbon and then crop over on the right hand side. Use these black grab handles to focus in on a particular area of the image just around the pool there, and now you have a nice crop. I don't actually like that being a rectangle, so you can change that more by going back to the Picture Format tab, crop over on the right and choose this little drop down here where you can choose Crop to Shape to crop to any of the standard shapes in PowerPoint. Here you can choose a basic oval, and now you have an oval crop, which again I don't really like. So to make it a circle, you can go back to the Picture Format tab, choose Crop, and this time choose Aspect Ratio, where you can use any of these standard elements, including a 1:1 square, to give you a perfect circular crop around that pool. Then you need to do two things to make it stand out. One is to give it some kind of border or outline, so go back to the Picture Format tab and either choose Picture Border here for a single line, or Picture Effects, where you can add a shadow around the outside using this one in the middle here. Then simply make this larger, and I'm going to use the white grab handles and press and hold the Control and the Shift key to make this larger in proportion out from the center. So the Control and Shift key being held down there is really useful. Once you've got that, use the thumbnails on the left hand side to select the slide, use Ctrl and D to duplicate the slide so you have two of them, and on the second slide, take this image of the pool and move it somewhere else in the slide, say over the red umbrella here on the right hand side like that. Now obviously that looks a bit odd to have a pool in the middle of the beach, but if you open up the crop tool again, you'll see that the rest of the image is still there, it's just hidden from view. And I like to think of crop not as a way to remove the image, but is instead to create a window through which you can see the image underneath. Which means that you can now move this image inside that crop window to reposition it with the red umbrella in the middle of it. And now if you apply the morph transition to this second slide by going to the transitions tab on the ribbon and morph over on the left, PowerPoint will now look at these two slides and say, okay, this is the same picture on both slides, just in a different place and with a different morph view or crop view, and it will now seamlessly morph from one to the next. And because none of the image is actually removed, when it's doing that repositioning with the morph within the crop window, you get to see all of the other elements in between as well. And it's not just about making one image larger. Here's another example where we've used the picture art effects under artistic effects to create a blur, and then you can have a nice crisp reveal image coming up over the top. Morph is an incredibly useful tool when it comes to complex storytelling sequences like this one. Very technical, very scientific, showing you how pulmonary embolisms form, seeing inside the body to see clots moving through the blood vessels and what that can do and the impact that it can have. This is all achieved using two layered images and the morph transition. So these are the images we've used, the one on the left here for the person and the one in the middle there for the circulatory system. You've seen how that one works, so let's remove that and show you a different example using the muscular system. I'm going to line these images up on top of each other, select the top image and go to the picture format tab on the ribbon and choose crop. At that point, I'm just going to very simply crop the bottom of the image all the way up to the top to create a thin bar. Then, using the thumbnails on the left, duplicate the slide using Ctrl and D, and on the second slide, select that thin cropped image at the top, go back to the picture format tab and crop, and this time recrop it all the way down to the bottom of the image, again with just a thin strip. At this point, on the second slide, go to the Transitions tab on the ribbon and apply the Morph transition. And what Morph will now do is recognize that these two thin strips are the same picture, but just in a different place and with a different crop view. And so in slideshow mode, you can now get the latest body scanning technique, for example, where you're seeing just that thin strip of the top image being revealed over the top of the two. And you'll note that this is going down and then also up again because Morph works backwards. So if you go from one slide to the next, it will work in one direction, but if you go back in your slide sequence, you'll see it being reversed. A recent leap in PowerPoint's capabilities helps you make your presentations more professional with the AI-driven Design Ideas function. Design Ideas essentially allows you to start from scratch, here a completely blank presentation, and come up with a new look, feel, style and brand instantly. To start off with, open up a title slide and type in a few words that are going to give you a sense of the kinds of things you want in your brand. Let's keep it simple, birds for example. Then go to the Home tab on the ribbon, and over on the far right hand side you'll see Design Ideas. This will bring up a new tab on the right hand side that will generate lots of different styles for you based on that theme. So in this case birds, here there's a video in the background, or different kinds of images. But it's not just the images that are different, your font styles are different with new different theme fonts. Your color styles are different with new theme colors added in there. And so when you choose all of these options, you've now got different fonts and you've got different colors to match. So there's a variety of different ones that you can choose from here. If you don't like any of those, you can click more and more will be added. So this is a great way to engage with new branding and new styling to bring your presentation look and feel to life. Now, it's not just about a nice title slide and a nice piece of color. What Design Ideas also allows you to do is to create new layouts. So now when you go to the new slide function here, you'll see that there's a variety of different newly designed layouts, all using that same consistent style. So if you were to add in title and content slide here, for example, this is now not just the standard layout that you would have traditionally. And what's more, PowerPoint Design Ideas will look at the content you have on any slide and make suggestions for how to improve it. So for example, if I were to add in a schedule here and put in a load of content there for a timeline schedule of what's going on, you can then go to the Home tab and Design Ideas. It will analyze all of this content and say, hey, that looks like something over time. why don't you do it as a timeline? And so now it will automatically create that timeline for you. In other instances, it will come up with different styles, different layouts, sometimes iconography based, sometimes image based, and you've got different ways that you can try to bring your content to life, all just using the Design Ideas tab on the ribbon over there on the right hand side, quickly, easily, and effectively. You can quite literally sketch out your ideas in PowerPoint using the ink and drawing tools. These are all found on the Draw tab on the ribbon, which gives you access to a variety of different tools, most notably different pens. Now with any of these different pens, you can click on the little drop down arrow here to change the thickness or the colour, and then once you've selected what you want, you can either use your mouse or a touchscreen and a pen to be able to draw over the top of anything on your slide. You can also annotate it as well, and so this is a great way to create very detailed, very complex ideas on a slide, but very quickly, easily and informally. It's not just useful for your planning though, you can actually present with this as well, especially when you select all of this content and go to the Animations tab on the ribbon, because here you can choose the Add Animation function on the right hand side and choose to use one of these two new ink animations, Replay or Rewind. Replay will actually replay how you drew that content. Now that was a bit fast, and so you can use the timing functions on the right hand side here to increase that timing so that it now feels more realistic. In slideshow mode, you can now present with your annotated sketches as if you are drawing them live in front of people, so that they can now see how you would develop it, and it feels much more engaging and much more compelling. Now you may not want the informal style that this brings, but that's okay, because inking is also here to give you more formal content. So again, if you go back to the Draw tab on the ribbon, you can draw any content you want. So I'll choose a nice glitter pen, for example, and you can write, say, hello. Now I can select that content and then use the convert tools on the right hand side here to convert that ink content to text, to shapes, or indeed take formulas and turn them into full equations. If you choose ink to text, that will now look at this and give you fully editable text that you can then manipulate there as you see fit. So that's a great way to be able to roughly storyboard and sketch out your content and then bring it to life in more formal PowerPoint shapes and elements. Bringing PowerPoint firmly into the zeitgeist of today, GIFs are finally getting some love. You can now use PowerPoint to create animated GIFs. So here, for example, I've got a lovely little character that I've created using the sketching tools in PowerPoint and then animated using Ink Replay. You can create an animated GIF of this character by using the File tab on the top left-hand corner and then going to Export on the left-hand side. Here you can choose Animated GIF right in the middle just there, and then on the right-hand side you have a whole load of options that you can use to customize the GIF. So you can choose the size of it from extra large down to small, and that will impact the resolution, the frame rate, and of course the file size as well. You have the ability to choose how long the GIFs last, and so GIFs can be taken from the entire presentation, so all of the different slides or just a selection of them, and this will then choose how long you're spending on each slide before you move on to the next. It's worth noting that if you have animation on any of your slides, then the animation is taken into account and the slide will move on after the animation has been completed. And if you don't want to GIF your entire presentation, then you can choose just a range of them. In fact, in this instance, I'm just going to choose that one slide with that character on, so I only need slide 2. Perhaps most interestingly of all, PowerPoint is now offering alpha channel support, which to you and me means that you can now have transparent backgrounds. So by using this little checkbox here to make background transparent, it will get rid of the background from your slide. In this example, it was just a white background, but any of the graphics that are inside the slide master. And that means you can now create cutout graphics, cutout GIFs that you can then put onto anything else. So once you've got that, choose the Create GIF button and it will then give you the opportunity to save that out as an animated GIF. Now that you have that file, you can do anything you like with it, including re-importing it back into PowerPoint. So if I now go to the Insert tab on the ribbon and then choose Pictures on the left, choose Insert Picture from this device because that's where I've saved it, find the GIF, insert it, you now have a GIF that you can play through in edit mode, but also in slideshow mode, it will now play through and loop automatically, showing you the little character and any animations that you might have on it. Animated GIFs are now a terrific way to be able to bring new and interesting content into your presentations. 3D is available in PowerPoint. No glasses required. Here we've got a lovely little building. It looks like a picture, but it's not. If I go into edit mode and then select it, you'll see that you get the regular white grab handles, but also this funky thing in the middle. That allows you to spin this model around so you can see all the different aspects of it. Now, there are some really interesting things that you can do with 3D models, but unfortunately, that live spinning whilst you're in slideshow mode is not one of them. But I'll show you some options in a second. First, how do you get these things? Well, you can go to the Inserts tab on the ribbon, and then in the Illustrations section of the middle here, you can choose 3D models. There you can choose to insert a 3D model that you have locally, so you can download these things or create them yourself, or you can go to the stock 3D models. And here you have a library of 3D models built into PowerPoint. So you can now access a huge range of different things, either scrolling through the different categories or searching at the top. If you want to find something, let's choose Microsoft products, for example, and then you'll see the selection of different options that are available here. You can choose whatever you like. So select the one that you want, choose insert, and it will appear nicely in your slide. Now, once you've got this, you need to be able to do something with it, and there are a few new options. Perhaps most obviously is if you go to the Animations tab on the ribbon, there are new animations available just for 3D models. If you go to Add Animation on the right hand side, you'll see that there are 5 new animations here. An entrance animation in green, an exit animation in red, and 3 emphasis animations in yellow. For example, if you wanted to animate something into the slide, you can choose Arrive, which is going to then rotate the view as it comes in. But you have a new set of options available with this by going to the Animations tab and then Effect Options in the middle. So clicking on this drop down, you can now choose the direction, whether it's left, right, up or down, or clockwise or counterclockwise. You can also choose the intensity of it and the rotation axis, whether it's on the view that you have at the moment or on the axis of the object itself. So right now that doesn't really matter because you're looking at it straight on. But if you were to reposition it like that, for example, now if I choose to do through the view center, you see it comes in one direction. But if I would choose the object center, you'll see it comes through slightly differently. So you get different effects based on how you have positioned the model and then which of these effect options you choose. And so you can start to build up a story by having it appear, by having it move around, for example, and then you can have it disappear if you need to. And that's great, but actually, perhaps what's more interesting is the ability to, well, not use animation at all. What I'd like to do is open up the thumbnails here on the left and now duplicate the slide using Control and D. And now you have 2 slides that show the same thing. But on the second slide, I'm going to take this object and move it around like this. So let's talk about the evacuation plan, for example. So I want to highlight here the top. And then I'm going to make it much larger. So let's increase the size of it now. So you're going to focus in on just that portion of the top. And then let's take it further and duplicate the slide again using Control and D and shift this around to talk about the fact that you need to go into the emergency stairwell just there like that. And then I'm going to duplicate the slide again, move this all the way down to the bottom like that, and duplicate the slide again and spin it around once more. And then also change the sizing so that it's now a chunk smaller so you can see more of the building there like that. Great. Why have I done that? Because if you select all of these slides that are duplicates, go to the Transitions tab on the ribbon and choose the new Morph transition, what PowerPoint will do is recognize that this object, this 3D model, is the same on all slides, and then in slideshow mode, it will now seamlessly morph from one to the next, and you can then go up to the roof. And then you can go round to the emergency stairwell and down the emergency stairwell and then all the way around to the other side of the building, which is where the evacuation meeting point is. And so now you can start to really bring your 3D models to life with effective visual storytelling by splitting it out over multiple slides and using the morph transition to help you to tell that story. Now you can take it even further, because this little chap here is an astronaut, clearly. But hang on, that's interesting. Not only do you have this new grab handle in the middle, but this little play icon. What's that? This is an animated 3D model. And so PowerPoint supports animations that are built into 3D models. So if you were to go to the 3D model tab on the ribbon up here, you'll see over on the left-hand side this Play 3D function, which gives you, in this case, different scenes that are built in. So this model, which is again available from the PowerPoint download options, gives you regular scene 1 where the astronaut is just floating in space, but also this one, standing around, taking a look at the new environment. You've got this one here, scene 3, where they're saying hello, and then scene 4, a nice heroic run there. And so with that, you again have more options available to you. I'm going to keep with scene 1 there, and then you think, well, that scrolling effect was interesting, where you're kind of moving from one to another with morph, but I've got a starry background here. Well, let's start to imagine more complex scenes with parallax scrolling, for instance. So I've now got this slide. I'm going to duplicate it again using Control and D on the thumbnails, and on the second slide, let's spin the astronaut around there like that. But also note that I've got this starry background just as a picture, which is larger than the slide. So now it's up to the top left, but on the second slide I'm going to move it so that it's focused on the bottom right hand corner. And so now across these two slides you've got the same astronaut and you've got the same picture, but with different spins and different positions. So now if you go to the Transitions tab and choose the Morph transition over here on the left, then in slideshow mode you get a rather wonderful parallax scrolling effect to go from one down to the other, and then also back again if you want to. So you can do really interesting things combining 3D models and parallax scrolling with the morph technique and all sorts of other elements as well. Well worth investigating to see what kind of stories you can bring to life. In a huge boost to productivity, PowerPoint offers live subtitles of what you're saying. If you're presenting and people can't hear you quite so well, you can solve that problem using PowerPoint with subtitles that are captured live from what you're saying. If you go to the Slideshow tab on the ribbon, over on the right hand side you'll see Captions and Subtitles. And this little checkbox here, well, that is called Witchcraft. If you select it and go back into slideshow mode, PowerPoint will start listening to you and transcribing what you're saying. So now you can capture everything and it will appear on your slides as live subtitles in real time. That is amazing. But I'm speaking in English and you're reading in English. But what if your first language isn't English? You need something else. Well, PowerPoint also has you covered, because you can go back to the slideshow tab in the ribbon. You can go back to captions and subtitles on the right, but this time choose the drop-down subtitle settings menu. There you can choose your spoken language, so what you're inputting, and you can also choose subtitle language with over 60 different languages for you to choose from. So for example, if I were to choose French here and then go back into slideshow mode, PowerPoint will listen and now transcribe and translate so that you can now read what I'm saying but in French or whichever language you choose. That is stunning. Live presentations is a terrific new way to present to audiences. Currently, it's only available in PowerPoint for the web, and if you go to the Slideshow tab on the ribbon, you'll see the option to present live. A key option worth noting here is whether or not your presentation is open to anyone or only people in your organisation, that is, people with access to your company's SharePoint. And if you're using the full ribbon, not the single line as I am here, then you'll find this on the View tab. No, I don't know why it's different. But once you've selected Present Live, you'll see this funky new loading screen with a URL that you can share or a QR code that people can scan, which allows them to see your presentation in a browser. Why is that good? Well, first, and perhaps most obvious, is that your audience can get live subtitles, so they won't miss anything you're saying. But you can also translate those subtitles into one of 62 different languages. And because everyone is in their own browser, they can choose their own language, which means that you get far greater accessibility and you get a much more personalised experience, which is great for a global audience. You also have some control in that, as standard, you can move back through the deck and builds, but not forward. Although the presenter can allow you to do it, I just wouldn't recommend it. As a presenter, you have a great deal of control too. If you move your cursor, that brings up your control panel in the bottom left-hand corner, with the ability to mute and unmute. You can move backwards and forwards. You can jump to a slide sorter view. You can annotate your slides with the pen tools. You can toggle the subtitles on and off, and then you can control the broadcast, getting a link to share, or you can show the welcome screen again in case people need to scan the QR code. And you can also go back and turn the audience reactions on and off, just in case that becomes a source of distraction at all. And then finally, blank your screen. All of which means that you give yourself lots of different choices and options to make this work, so that ultimately you can do amazing things when presenting to ensure that everything is clear and effective. And if your audience likes what they see, they can tell you with the reactions giving you lots of love. Sharing a joke even in a remote environment, which is encouraging. Or showing their surprise when you tell them something unexpected or insightful, which pretty much every good presentation should do. Zoom navigation is a terrific tool in PowerPoint that allows you to jump straight to the content you want and supports a seamless interactive presentation. Now, before I get into exactly how it works, it's worth showing you how to set up a presentation to make it really easy. So here I've got a fairly typical presentation with a whole lot of slides you can see. But in slide sorter mode, there's a huge grey space over on the right hand side where there are no slides. That's because I've grouped all of these slides into different sections, or in this case module A, B and C and so on. And so sections are a great way to be able to categorize slides and organize your presentation, but they can also be used to navigate. So to add a section is really very simple. Select an area that you'd like a new section, go to the Home tab on the ribbon, and on the left hand side under Slides you'll see Section, where you can simply add in a section, type a name, and now you have that group of slides together as a section. Now once you've got that, you can now start to navigate with those sections using the new Zoom tool. So to do that, go to the Insert tab on the ribbon and you'll find Zoom over here in the middle under Links. Click on that and there are 3 different options available to you: Summary, Section and Slide, and it's Section Zoom that I want to use right now. What that does is it will give you a list of all of the different sections in your presentation. So I'm going to choose here Section 2, Module A. Once you do that, you get what looks like a little thumbnail picture of your slide, but it's not actually that. It's a clickable link that you can then use to jump to that slide. So if I were to just tidy this up so that it all matches nicely like so, what you now have is a group of different thumbnails that are navigable elements. And they're not pictures, because if you click on them, you see you get this new Zoom tab that appears on the ribbon on the right hand side. Now this gives you a lot of the functionality that you would expect from picture formatting, but over on the left you have these new options for controlling the zoom. So you've got the ability to return to zoom, which means that once you've navigated to a section and gone through all of the slides, it will bring you back to the menu. And you can also use the zoom transition, which is really using the morph transition to allow you to, well, zoom into the slide from this thumbnail that you have, and you can choose how long it takes to do it. So in slideshow mode, what happens now is that you can click on any of these clickable links. You see I have the active pointing hand icon there. Click on that, zoom into that slide, and then you can go through the slides in this section, presenting them how you would do. And then when you get to the end of any section, what it will then do is it will bring you back to that main menu. So this is the final slide, and now rather than moving on to the next slide in the deck, it will zoom back to that menu. And now if module B is no longer relevant for this audience, you can go straight to module C, for example, zoom into that one, and again go through the slides as appropriate. At the end of it, this one here, it will bring you back, and so on. So this is a great way to be able to create navigable presentations quickly and easily and allow you to respond to your audience. If you'd like to create a Zoom navigation menu that doesn't look like a gallery of slides, you have a few different options. Here, for example, we've got another presentation, and this is the zoom menu page. All of these are actually section zooms to be able to go to those different slides. This is all done in a nice seamless way using something called zoom background. So if I were to get rid of this, for example, and go to Insert again, and then Links and Zoom, and choose a section zoom, what you'll find is this is the list of section slides. Choose section 5 here, how to run and insert it, and what you get is an accurate representation of that slide. It's got the nice magazine there, but it's also got the white background that goes along with that slide, which clearly doesn't work. What you want is for all of these to fit seamlessly on the desktop. Well, you can do that by going to the Zoom tab on the ribbon and then choosing Zoom Background over here on the right hand side of Zoom Styles. And what that does is it removes the background of the slide you are zooming to, and it keeps the background of the slide that you are on. And so now you can reposition it, and you can resize it, and you can spin it around and do whatever you want to, so that when you go into slideshow mode, this appears. You can click on the zoom menu, it will navigate to that, and then you can go through the slides. You can interact with the content, so click on anything, for example, bring up the details that's relevant, and then you can move through back to the main menu. You've got a variety of different options there to play around with this, to really bring the content to life, make it your own. If you want to change the image completely, you can also do that. Again, going to the Zoom tab on the ribbon, but this time choosing Change Image on the left-hand side. And you can change that image for any one of a number of different things, from a file that you have locally using the stock images or icons that are built into PowerPoint, and it allows you to create something that looks really very significantly different from what you would get as standard. So go and be creative and try to create navigable experiences that allow you to respond better to your audience with Slide Zoom. I hope you'll agree that PowerPoint offers some pretty amazing tools for you to create and deliver engaging and effective presentations. Shameless plug alert, but these are all the different services that we offer at BrightCarbon, from professionally creating your presentations and e-learning to animations, infographics and PDFs, as well as running advanced PowerPoint and presentation training. If you'd like any help with any of that, please do get in touch. But more specifically for you, if you are interested in doing any of these things, because we spend our time doing them, we love to share cool things. So if you check out the BrightCarbon website, brightcarbon.com, there you'll find loads of free resources and tutorials and weekly webinars giving you content just like this. If you would like to get in touch, please do feel free to do so. Follow us on the Twitter @BrightCarbon or email info@brightcarbon.com. And with that, we're at the end of the session. So thank you so much indeed for watching, and if you'd like a variety of other topics, check out the many brilliant things on the Virtual Hub. I hope that you enjoy creating amazing presentations with PowerPoint.